Hey there, best-selling author Harris III here with another video specifically for solopreneurs. I'm going to walk you through the solopreneur success path. We're going to show you the 9 different steps that you've got to focus on if you want to succeed as a solopreneur in 2025 and beyond. The world is changing very quickly, and these 9 areas of focus and the audit that I'm going to walk you through are going to help you determine the number one bottleneck that is currently getting in the way and serving as a roadblock to your growth as a solopreneur, and the biggest opportunities that you have to focus on if you want to continue to ramp up momentum and your success. And so this is going to be really cool. It is specifically for solopreneurs. And so if you're wondering if that's for you, sometimes a lot of freelancers pop into our resources and they're like, this is so helpful. And it is, because there's a big difference between freelancing and solopreneurship. Freelancing can be so frustrating because you're regularly trading time for money. Solopreneurs trade value for money. If you're a freelancer, you tend to focus on your deliverables, like the coaching hours or sessions or packages, the logos you design, the copy that you write. If you're a creative service provider, freelancers get paid for what they deliver. Solopreneurs, we get paid for what we deliver people from. That is very different. Solopreneurs are a category of entrepreneurs. We have an entrepreneur mindset. We're building brands. We're building things that are bigger than just us. And we don't trade time for money. We trade value for money because we're solving problems in the world. And it doesn't mean that freelancers aren't solving problems, but our value is what determines our pricing, not how many hours we work, which is pretty cool because it allows us to be far more scalable than the freelance business model makes space for. And you can be a solopreneur and build a 7-figure business without having a big team or a big building. But unlike entrepreneurship, there's just not a lot of resources for solopreneurs out there, which is why a lot of solopreneurs are struggling. And so if that's you, it might be why you're struggling. There is a sea of content, even on platforms like this one, of people that are apparently making content and resources for people like you, and then you're still struggling. And the reason why is because a lot of that content is not for people like you. It's made for freelancers, which is a trap, or it's made for entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurship includes things like franchising or taking on business partners, raising capital, giving up equity. You can't give up equity in yourself or someday exit and sell your business. You're a solopreneur, you are your business. And the primary source of value is your wisdom, which is contained in the story that you've lived. Most solopreneurs started their business to give their life more meaning and purpose in the first place. And so why would we turn around and give that up by taking our business that isn't really sellable and trying to find a way to sell it to someone else? It just doesn't make sense. So we started creating resources specifically for solopreneurs because I've spent over 30 years of my life as one. I started at a very young age, and no one else is talking about this stuff. So let's jump into this quick training, the Solopreneur Success Path, which comes with an audit so that we can figure out what your bottlenecks and roadblocks are so we can get you back on a path to growth and scale as a solopreneur. Let's jump in. All right, the thing that we are obsessed with helping solopreneurs find is a life that is filled with poetry, which is why we call this the Poetics Framework. Poetics is a community, a global community of solopreneurs around the world that we've been building over the last 5 years. And it is all about how do we get to the point where we're living a poetic life. Why do we call it the Poetics? That sounds weird to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, we define poetry more like the ancient Greeks did. It was just the art of making things. In ancient Greece, a poet wasn't just someone who wrote words in a particular creative writing genre. Playwrights were poets. Architects were poets. Painters were poets. Anyone who created something from nothing, who imagined something, envisioned it, and built it, those were poets. If that's not solopreneurship, I don't know what is. And so we call this global community of solopreneurs the Poetics, and what we are all pursuing together is living a more poetic life. And in my opinion, poetry is found at the intersection of 3 things: purpose, profits, and play. You see, at the end of the day, we are purpose-fueled and driven as solopreneurs. I don't know about you, but one of the reasons I love solopreneurs so much is because they're the most purpose-driven entrepreneurs on the planet. You probably didn't start a business to make money. You probably were forced to start a business because it was the only way that made sense for you to be able to make the difference in the world that you wanted to make. It's just the model that exists for people like us to be able to do the kind of things and live the kind of lives that we want to live. And so you don't wake up in the morning thinking about how do I make more money? You wake up in the morning thinking about how do I make a bigger difference? And like Walt Disney made movies to make money so that he can make more movies, you've got to find a way to make more money so that you can keep making a bigger difference. And so we all know people who are incredibly purpose-driven without profits. And what happens? Those profits, they are important. They're so important because they make our purpose sustainable and they make our purpose and our impact more scalable. But then we also know people who are entirely profits-driven. They're not purpose-driven at all. They don't care about meaning or making a real difference in the world. And one, they're jerks. No one wants to be around them. They're transactional. They're not human in their relationships. But also, eventually, they hit burnout. It just doesn't last because they're not making a difference in the world. But if you get purpose and profits working together, magic starts to happen, my friend. However, when you hit a point of growth, when you hit the right stage and your business is growing and scaling, eventually you start to lose that sense of play, the thing that made starting a business fun in the first place. And when that play starts to fade, your success will start to fade with it. You will get bottlenecked. And so let's walk through this entire circle around each of these three circles. And as we do, as I explain these 9 core areas of a solopreneur's business, I want to do a traffic light exercise for you. If you're based in the US, you'll understand these 3 colors: green, yellow, and red. Some of my friends around the world call it amber. You call it whatever you want to call it. For the sake of this video, I'm going to go with green, yellow, and red. Green means, hey, this is awesome. Green means go. We're rocking and rolling. Things are great. I'll benchmark each of these for you. Yellow in general means there's some work to do. Red is, this is where I'm stuck. Red light in this part of my business, okay? Again, I'll give you a benchmark for each category. What's a green light? What's a yellow light? What's a red light? Let's jump in, starting with purpose. The reason we call this circle purpose, Zig Ziglar famously said, you can have anything you want in life if you just help enough other people get what they want. I've always loved that. It can sound cliche, but it's true. We can have anything we want if we just help enough other people get what they want. Again, solopreneurs, like entrepreneurs, solve problems in the world. The value exchange, our pricing, is equal to the value of the problem we solve and the life or work of the person, the type of client that we solve it for, which means our businesses are others-oriented, right? To do that, we got to figure out 3 things, okay? If you want your business to be purpose-driven and you want to succeed across the board, you've got to nail these 3 areas. What are they? The first one is your brand positioning. What is brand positioning? What is your position in the marketplace? Ultimately, you're going to choose a problem and get really clear around what problem you solve, but you've got to understand the pain points that are associated with that problem. Most people do not live their lives problem aware. You, because you've lived an amazing story and have some wisdom, which is the byproduct of the story you've lived, you understand the problem that's actually going on in someone's life or work. They are not. They are experts in their pain. And you've got to find a way through your brand positioning and your messaging to move them from pain aware to problem aware. We could do more of that in our marketing later, which I'll explain in a second. But you've got to pick a problem and understand how to solve it. And you've got to understand the pain that's associated with that problem. And you've got to understand how to position your brand in a way that is the solution to that problem. When you've got clarity around all of that, and that clarity is informing some effective messaging, and you understand the position of your brand and your brand assets are in place, you're ready to rock and roll. And my friend, I would say you are a green light at positioning. Now, if you're not clear on what problem you solve and your messaging isn't working and you feel like you're just going around making tons of content, trying to shout from the rooftops going, just hire me, just hire me. It's probably not even that you have a content strategy problem. By content strategy, am I posting the right stuff? Does my content look and feel good? Is it on the right platform? Is it in the right places? You probably have a messaging or a positioning problem, and you might be a red light there. If maybe you're listening to me describe this and you're like, I'm clear on the problem, I understand the pain that is associated with that problem. I know what my promise is to anyone who has that problem, and I know who my ideal client is. I'm super clear on the avatar of my ideal client. We call that an ICA. But I've got some work to do in this area. Maybe you're a yellow light, okay? So if you don't know who your ICA is, you're not clear on pain, problem, promise, if your brand positioning currently isn't working, you haven't carved that in the marketplace, you're a red light. So be honest with yourself. Are you red, yellow, or green? Excuse me. All right, productize. Product, we got to build a product that's anchored in that positioning. We then take that product and we productize it. Most solopreneurs are in somewhat of a service-based business, it seems, right? You're showing up, you're speaking, you're coaching, you're consulting. You might sell what feels like an info product sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're showing up to serve people. Again, we're purpose-fueled, purpose-driven. But we want to productize that service by turning it into an irresistible offer. We got to get really clear on what does the process look like between someone's pain and the problem associated with that pain and our promise for them, the results that we help guide them towards. We're going to take that process, productize it, and then turn it into an irresistible offer. Now, there's a really simple way to determine if you are a green, yellow, or red light at productize. Is your offer irresistible? When you talk to someone and present that offer to them because they've asked you to, do they say yes? If they're all saying yes in droves, you've successfully productized, you've got a great offer on your hands. If you're struggling to get traction and people are like, I need to think about it, you might have a sales problem. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But if you're not clear on what your offer is exactly, and you're not clear on what your process is and how you're going to work with someone, you're kind of still in this product development stage. You need to be honest about that. All right. If you're a red light here, it's because this is where you're stuck. You're going, hey, I'm clear on positioning. I know the problem I solve. I'm just not clear on exactly how I'm going to solve it. And I don't know how to take that process and the clarity I do have around it and turn it into an irresistible offer that I can put in front of people. Okay. If you've got some of this figured out, but you can tell by my description, you've got some work to do here. Be honest about whether it's working right now in your business or not. If it's not, you have some work to do here. That might be a yellow light. If you're rocking and rolling, maybe you're green. A lot of the people that I talk to, especially even if they're just starting out, they've got some good ideas about this, but the offer isn't quite dialed in, which is why you're not making money and helping more people. A lot of people are yellow lights. Plan, here's my standard for a green light and plan. The word itself sounds self-explanatory. Do you have a plan for growth? Do you have a plan on how you're going to fulfill your vision? Do you have a plan on how you are going to allow your purpose-fueled vision to get fulfilled in the world? How are you going to make the difference that you're going to make, and how is it going to be profitable? Okay, business plan in place. You got to know your purpose. Are you clear? Do you have a vision for the future long term? And then do you also have a short-term strategy in support of that long-term vision? And then are you able to build in public, as we say? Are you able to build in public by having a publicly shareable version of that vision so that when people come along and they're like, hey, what are you up to, Harris? Oh, man, I am building and then you're able to communicate your plan to others in a public way so that people understand how to get involved. Okay, if you're clear on your plan, your ability to build in public is easy. If you're clear on your vision, you should be able to reverse engineer that vision into a short-term strategy for growth for the next 90 days. If you've got long-term clarity on where you want to end up 3 years from now, but you don't have a short-term growth plan or strategy for the next 90 days, how do you expect to succeed? It's true. If you fail to plan, you can plan to fail. So are you green light, yellow light, or red light? A lot of the solopreneurs I talk to are at a yellow, okay? Now, these three things don't have to necessarily be done in order. However, if I'm in your shoes and I'm just starting out and I'm in a build or launch phase, I'm going to start with brand positioning. I'm going to productize, and I'm going to write a business plan. I'm going to get clarity. Where do I go from here on the solopreneur success path? Well, even though these circles are interlocking and this path isn't linear, it can be a little bit linear when we're starting out. And then as our business starts to grow, we got to revisit some of these. I'm actually going through a rebrand of my personal brand right now. We are updating my brand positioning. which is why these circles are interlocked and not in a linear path, because sometimes we've got to jump around. But if we are jumping around, we're going to go down here to the profit circle to the very bottom. Now, when we talk about profits, we're essentially talking about marketing, sales, and delivery. Now, I don't know if you know this or view this as a talent or as an annoying character trait, but sometimes I get a little bit too obsessive with alliteration. It helps me remember. It's how my brain works. I don't know about yours, but I'm the one making the video, and this is my framework. And so instead of calling it marketing, sales, and delivery, I have an entertainment background, and it's helpful for me to think about a profit center in a business through the lens of producing some stuff and then presenting it and then actually stepping on stage and performing. And so what do we mean by this? When you see produce, I want you to think of marketing, okay? Marketing. When you see presenting, I want you to think of sales. And when you see performing, what we're really talking about is delivery. Okay, so let's go through these really quickly. Marketing, sales, and delivery. To me, marketing has a lot to do with producing. You are producing leads, and you're doing that by producing assets, websites, videos, and then you're trying to get traffic to those assets by producing content, right? And so there's a lot of stuff to make. Marketing is basically filled with making in 2025 and beyond. And so you got to put your producer hat on and learn how to produce some stuff. So how do we know if we're doing a good job at producing? Am I a green, yellow, or red light in producing? Very simple. How is your lead flow? Do you have a steady stream of leads, people who are coming to you and raising their hands, expressing interest in buying from you? Now, please understand what we're talking about right now. We are not talking about sales. A lot of solopreneurs get things mixed up because they combine marketing and sales into the same category, but they're actually two different stages. Marketing is going to a market. It is gaining attention, gathering people into an audience, building a community of people. Sales is the part where they raise their hands and enter into a conversation with you about your productized services and then ask you to present the offer to them, okay? So when we're talking about marketing, we're talking about making stuff and getting to the point where people raise their hands. Do you have a lot of people raising their hands? Do you have tons of leads? If you have more leads than you know what to do with, congratulations. You get to take a highlighter or whatever you're using in this audit and mark it green. If your lead flow is stuck and you're like, I need leads, then you're not a green on this one. You are a red. So it's easy to score. It's simply based on your current lead flow. If you've got some leads, but you need more, but you don't have enough, you're a yellow. Now, the next question is, once you have leads, how effortless is your sales process? Now, I joked around about alliteration, but there's a reason why we choose this word instead of just saying sales, because when people hear sales, they think of all sorts of weird, uncomfortable feelings, and maybe you don't realize how active your nervous system is when you're in active selling mode. And so a lot of solopreneurs, because they've never been taught how to sell effectively, they don't realize how comfortable it can feel. At Istoria, this is not hyperbole. We think of sales, maybe this sounds cheesy to you, not as convincing or posturing or trying to prove our worth or talk people into things. We sell from a place of love and abundance and service. It is my job on a sales call to serve you and help you do what's best for you. Not for me, for you. Remember, if my business is purpose-fueled and meaning-oriented, then that is the only option available to me. If I try to talk you into something that's not good for you, one, I'm going to end up with bad clients and all the parties are going to be frustrated. Frankly, that's just not how I want to live my life or build my business. And when my head hits the pillow at night, man, I sleep peacefully because I know the people that I'm doing business with want to do business with me. It's not transactional. It's not B2B or B2C. It's H to H, human to human. We only present offers to the people that we feel like we're a good fit for, and we only present them to the people that we feel like they're comfortable saying yes to us, which means selling for us is not about pitching. It's about presenting. And so marketing, producing's job is essentially to get us to that point where people are aware of how we might be able to help them. And then the moment they raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested, They're officially moving from the marketing stage to the sales stage. And now sales' only job is to present the offer. There's a way in which we do that that is comfortable, classy, and effortless. And you don't have to sell constantly from a place of scarcity or with a nervous, activated nervous system, right? So if you know how to do that really well and you've got sales mastered, congratulations, you're a green light on this one. If you're struggling with this a bit, maybe you're a yellow. If you're totally stuck on sales and you're like, Harris, I've never heard anybody talk about sales like that, let alone know how to do it that way in my business. You've got some stuckness around this, and this is an area of improvement for you. Maybe you're a red light. Score yourself appropriately. Now, for those of you who are being honest with yourselves, you don't have a bunch of green lights right now. And if you have green lights right now, one of two things are happening. One, you're wasting your time because your business is experiencing rocket-fueled growth. It's all working. You're not doing anything wrong, which means your business should be growing, which means you should be too busy to be watching this video right now. So you're probably not being honest with yourself, which is the second category I was going to go to of people. The people who just aren't being honest enough with yourself about where you actually are. That's not doing anyone any favors. You've got to be honest with yourself about where you are right now with these different traffic light colors. But if you've been really hard on yourself and you're like, I feel frustrated and depressed right now because I just have a bunch of yellow and red lights. Congratulations, I'm about to give you a green light. And that is you as a solopreneur. If I showed up right now, let me go back full picture. If I were to show up right now and say, hey, I got $1 million. Can I give this $1 million to you? And will you just go serve these people and help them with these things? And you're going, wait, I don't have to think about money anymore. I just get to show up and be good at what I do and help these people. What is your ability to go serve and help those people win? Exactly. Now, if you're a speaker, could you be a better speaker? Sure. If you're a coach, could you be a better coach? Of course. Do we always want to be leveling up our professional development? Of course. All of us who are truly honest and have a growth and wonder mindset, we know there's always some leveling up to do. But at the end of the day, could you walk out on stage and deliver? When the spotlight comes on, could you hop up there and do your thing? When the Zoom meeting gets fired up, are you able to jump on screen and have the conversation you need to have? When the logo needs to be designed, when the copy needs to be written, if you're a designer or a copywriter, okay, I'm not talking about if you're not and you're like, oh no, I don't like that stuff. I'm talking about if you're a designer and someone comes to you with $1 million budget going, can you design me a logo? Is the answer yes? And can you do it with care and class? Can you treat that client with the utmost respect to get a positive case study or review from that person? If the answer is yes, congratulations, you are a green light. And the majority of people are, even if they have some growth to do. So let's get some green on your audit. So by now, you've got some stuff to work on, right? And again, this isn't a linear path for everyone. But if you were starting out, I would start by nailing my brand positioning. I would then productize, and then I would develop a plan. And then what I would do is I would actually keep going this way. And this is where things start to get a little bit counterintuitive, right? And before I start marketing anything, before I start producing content, I want to make sure that I have the ability to perform. I productize my service. Have I polished it? Is the product development process complete? And if so, you are ready to perform. And now you're ready to go find clients. Now I would master a sales system. If you don't have one, I encourage you to check out our Poetic Profits Blueprint. There is a link in the description below. It's going to show you a blueprint, as close to a blueprint as we can possibly get for solopreneurs on how to build a profitable business. And I'm going to show you 4 different ways of selling. Sales doc, sales call, sales chat, sales page. Okay, 4 different ways of selling. You just got to master one of them. You can learn more later, but you've got to get good at one. So we can teach you how to do this stuff. But what you don't want to do, and this is what a lot of solopreneurs do, is they start way down here. They're like, I want to start a business. What's the first thing I should do? They go take photos or they hire a designer to build a logo. They start working on their website. And then even if they know what words to put on that website, sort of, they put some stuff together and then it doesn't work. Why? Because then they go, okay, what am I going to, I got this product. I kind of got that figured out. Time to go sell some stuff. And they haven't had conversations with anybody. They haven't nailed their brand positioning. They haven't dialed their messaging in. because they tried to do marketing first. Think about it this way. Again, go back to my entertainment background. I don't sell tickets to a show that I haven't written yet any more than a band sells tickets to a tour for an album that isn't released. Now, can they continue to hone in the songs? Of course. Can we continue to make the show that we're performing and taking on tour better? Of course. But we write the show, we develop the product. Then we get a plan in place. Hey, how are we going to sell this? Are we going to talk to people? Are we going to send a link to a website? Are we ready? If a bunch of people rushed up to the box office, do we know how we're going to sell these tickets and handle the transactions? We do. There's a plan in place. Okay, sweet. Marketing is like a breaker. You flip that breaker, you turn it on. Now you start promoting stuff, which allows you to get the traffic you need to the thing that's already built and dialed in. Don't do this in the wrong order. On the solopreneur success path, if you're just starting out and you're in that linear season, you've got to do it in this order. Develop the product, get a plan for how you're going to sell, get those sales assets in place so that you're ready to do those sales conversations, then flip the marketing breaker on. Now you need some traffic to those things, right? All right. Now, if you're in a growth or a scale stage as a solopreneur, it's not going to be that linear for you. You got to work on what you got to work on, right? But if you're just starting out, start with your first red light and go from there. Now, if you are just starting out, I still encourage you to listen into the rest of this video, but this is going to get increasingly relevant to people who are in a growth or scaling stage. Because when we first start our businesses, things feel exciting. We're like, oh, I'm starting a business. Even though they feel scary, like I admit there's some fear, like, can I really do this? Maybe some imposter syndrome, right? But we're like, okay, I'm going to start a business. It's kind of fun. Like I've got butterflies in my stomach. Like it's exciting. And then what happens? Things start working eventually, and it starts getting really exciting. And if you're one of the fortunate few who start to get some traction, eventually what happens as your business grows is you start going, uh-oh, this was fun, and now it's not. And so what do? You've got to get back to a place of play. You have to protect your play. And there's so much science, so much neuroscience and research out about this. I wish we had time to get into this video. But if you want to succeed in the long term, if you want to make a bigger difference in the world, this has got to continue to feel like play to you. And that doesn't mean that you're going to love every part of solopreneurship. There's going to be some stuff that you've got to do as you're always growing that you didn't sign up for, right? My leadership coach, Shane, who helps companies truly at scale, his threshold is 80%. He's like, that's what you want to fight for. If you can always get back to 80%, that means that 80% of your time is being spent in play, in your strengths, in your zone of genius. You're doing things that give you joy, that light you up. There's probably always going to be a 20% stack of stuff for the solopreneurs and entrepreneurs of the world. They're just things they didn't sign up for, but they're always new, and you can't delegate them yet. But to stay in play and to truly operate at scale, even as a solopreneur, to get past that $250,000 stage, to scale up to multiple high six figures or 7 or 8 figures, you've got to have 3 things. You've got to have some people, some processes, and some systems that allow you to stay productive, right? So let's just go through these really quickly. People, to be a green light in people, I'm not just talking about mentors, coaches, teachers, sources of support, people who are helping you succeed. I'm talking about the people on your team. And that team doesn't just include your executive assistants and your marketing support and your copywriters, your website builders, your agencies. I'm talking about the people at home, in your house, your neighbors. Or do you have some friends? Do you have some families that are cheering you on? And some of you are in a tough spot. And if so, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry if you're short on some people right now who don't believe in you. And if you're in isolation, you've got to get plugged in. You've got to find some people. Because solopreneurship, even though we are flying solo, you cannot succeed alone. We succeed together, right? One of our flagship events for solopreneurs is called SoloCon. SoloCon is a play on an idea of a conference for solopreneurs, but con, the root of the word is with, con, with. Solo only, but only with can we succeed. You've got to find some people. And so whether that's a community like ours, the Poetics, or some friends, a local mastermind, you've got to find some people if you want to succeed at growing a business successfully. The other thing you're going to need is some processes. If you want to delegate something, you've got to have a standard operating procedure, an SOP. You've got to have it spelled out. The more your business starts to increase in growth, the more you need those. And not just SOPs that can be delegated, but can you leverage some original robotics and artificial intelligence? We call that automation. It's actually been around for decades in digital marketing. You got to have some systems in place that allow you to stay productive, right? So how productive are you right now if the standard is, I'm not going to touch anything in my business that doesn't feel like play? I'm not going to touch anything in my business that doesn't fit into my zone of genius. I'm not going to do anything in my business that doesn't light me up. If you can't say that at least 80% of the time, you're missing some people, some processes, or some productive systems that make it possible for you to operate at scale. So how are you doing in these areas? Maybe you're a green light at people. Maybe you've got some people, but you haven't built out enough, standard operating procedure, SOPs or processes. You're not clear on what they are, and you haven't written them down to be able to delegate it to those people, and you're missing some support. I don't know. And maybe you don't have enough systems in your business in addition to those processes that allow you to stay productive. Do you have a productive mindset? Do you operate from an ideal weekly workflow? And if not, maybe you're like, man, Harris, if I were to go on vacation, everything stops. And that's a really good prompt for figuring out what your color is for productivity. Can you go on vacation? I just traveled with my family internationally for a whole month. Almost the whole thing was internationally. We started in Los Angeles, hung out with some clients, did a 3-day event, gave a keynote, and then I flew up to Seattle with my family. I took an Alaskan cruise, did a little work on the cruise. I then disappeared almost for 2 whole weeks. So went to Japan and Singapore, and then finished the whole thing in South Africa on an African safari. With the exception of a few messages, and jumped on Zoom a couple times with a couple clients and the team, I worked very little over that month. I was mostly having fun and present with my family and seeing the world. And no fires started, nothing burned down, nothing bad happened. Clients stayed happy. The machine continued to operate. Why? Because of people, processes, and productivity. And so can you go do something like that and business is still productive? If it is, you're a green light at productivity. If it's not, you're a red light. If everything comes to a screeching halt the moment you stop working, that's bad. You need some automation, you need some processes, you need some people. That is the Poetics Profit Blueprint. What I would do right now is I would zoom out and go, okay, where are my traffic light colors? And again, if you're in that linear space, once you get to the play circle, it's all the same stage. You're just kind of looking at them together in unison. I would say they're all step number 7, right? So where's your bottleneck? Drop a comment down in the video below. Let us know where you are. Let us know what your red lights are. If you're taking the linear approach on the success path, where is your first red light? Whatever that is, that should be your focus right now, because that's the biggest roadblock to your next stage of growth. What's working in your business right now? What's not? Be honest with yourself, and this simple audit is a way to do that. Now you know what to focus on, and now you have a little bit of clarity. Does this fix all your problems? No, but clarity is the first step, because if you can't see that next step, you don't know what to take. And you don't need to see all the steps. You just need to be able to see the next one. And hopefully this video has helped you do just that. Clarity is powerful. It gets you clear on where you are and where you need to go next. If you want some help getting clear on a growth plan, we'd love to connect with you. And one of the links in the description below is a link to a clarity call with our team. It's not a sales call. It's a really short call. We can't afford to do super long calls complimentary like this. They're just 10 to 15 minute calls for us to meet other business owners. And what we like to do on that call is look at these traffic light colors and help you hone in on what really is the biggest bottleneck to your growth. And is there a way for us to help you put a growth plan in place to figure out on what your best next step is and where we go from here? And the reason why we're able to do those calls, not just because we're trying to build a global community of purpose-driven solopreneurs. That's part of my calling and what makes our business purpose-driven and meaningful. Obviously, some of those people want to end up getting our help on implementing the plan that we come up with together on the clarity call. So if you want that plan, schedule one of those calls. It's not a sales call. We don't present an offer to you on that call. And then if it makes sense for us to schedule some more time to dig deeper in your business, polish up that growth plan, and answer questions about what it looks like to get our help, we'd love to do that. So there's a link in the video description below to either to schedule a call if we have some availability, or if not, it goes straight to an application so that we can review some more information about your business and just filter through those and see if it makes sense for us to jump on a call. We'll do everything we can to make as much time available, but we hope to connect with you very soon. There's some other good links in the description below. Hope you enjoyed this training. Hope you'll take a next step. Hope that you'll like and subscribe. We love serving solopreneurs like you because the business that you're building matters. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.